Hello and welcome to my presentation on Yellowstone National Park Supervolcano Eruption Emergency Plan. My name is Tanya Cochran and I will be your host. Everyone at Yellowstone National Park, park employees, locals, and tourists ought to have an evacuation plan in place for how to get out of the park safely in the event that the volcano were to erupt. In addition to this, they need to ensure that they have a sufficient supply of water, batteries, face masks to protect themselves from the breathing in ash, and batteries. It is best to steer clear of low-lying areas because these kinds of terrain are more prone to be damaged by lava flow or ash clouds. Last but not least, it is essential to pay attention to and respect any instructions or warnings that pertain to an emergency. If visitors and employees of Yellowstone National Park want to be as prepared as possible for a possible volcanic eruption, following these suggestions is the best way to do so. Employees of the park, as well as residents and visitors from the area, should be ready to take the appropriate action in the case of an eruption of the Yellowstone National Park supervolcano. Due to the possibility of flowing lava, certain roads and localities should be closed off, and lifelines should be set up in case of failures during the evacuation process. Additionally, emergency hotlines that offer emotional assistance must be available. An emergency plan should be in place to help manage the difficulty of evacuating family members of missing persons and rescuing those who are stuck as well, as the event that nearby medical facilities become overcrowded. The safety of anyone and everyone impacted by the eruption depends on all these actions. It is crucial to assess the dynamic changes in the system status during a crisis in Yellowstone National Park, like an eruption of the supervolcano. This involves determining the likelihood of a seismic event, the vulnerability of buildings near escape routes, the vulnerability of the road network, and the likelihood of a negative response from the populace, the vulnerability of information systems and media management, the vulnerability of the lifeline network, the effectiveness of the rescue system, and the effectiveness of the health system. To make sure that the park staff, residents, and visitors are safe and have the knowledge necessary to react to the situation, all of these variables should be taken into account. It is feasible to better prepare for and safeguard those who will be impacted by the system by being aware of its current state. If the volcano at Yellowstone National Park erupted, park personnel, guests, and locals would need to be alert to seismic activity, ashfall intensity, and direction according to the wind speed and dynamic pressure and temperature of any pyroclastic flows. Monitoring seismic activity would be necessary to identify any earthquakes that might be precursor to an imminent eruption by noting their frequency, size, and location. Additionally, keeping an eye on the area's wind patterns and ashfall intensity will provide us more knowledge about the eruption's potential effects. Finally, to assess the possible threat and scope of the eruption, it will be necessary to continuously monitor the dynamic pressure and temperature of any pyroclastic flows. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.